I was shocked to hear that they had done damage to a very valuable object in there, the most valuable thing you've got, which is that suit of armor that you've decapitated. That's outrageous. You've got no right to do a thing like you didn't do it, but some son of a bitch did. The house itself being haunted, very little of that, unless I was a person who was unusually gifted in that department, which is not really a gift at all. I wouldn't even notice that it was a haunted place. The great ghost of Belcourt is the one haunting the suit of armor that you've decapitated. You've got to put that back together, you know. That is a piece of armor that should be displayed. It's more important than anything else you've got there, including the new owner. You didn't hear that.
How did you discover that you were particularly sensitive to spirits?
Oh, I was in my teens, in my backyard, and there's a river and forest, and I seemed to be aware that there was also something stamped on the atmosphere that was very normal to me. It was didn't bother me at all. When I went to Europe, I'm interested in art and architecture, and particularly in fine buildings. So I was going to these buildings, and of course, more than often they had something remaining in them in the way of a spirit or two. You see, what people don't seem to understand is if you've got a building that's been around there, by there I mean in any place, that's been around there for 400 or 500 years, there's a good chance it's acquired something. Our buildings are so new, that's why we rarely have them. I would encounter things in their old buildings, and so it became somewhat interesting, particularly when you were getting some of the history of where you were visiting. It wasn't in the guidebooks. What makes for spirits in the way of wonderful little castles, etc., is usually violence, meaning death, either within the walls or out of the walls, but certainly involving the individuals who lived there. I just took a fancy to finding out what was not in the guidebooks, and also a couple of warning things once in a while, and having the new owners, for heaven's sakes, don't, etc., do that. Anyway, let's get down to what you're interested in. Which, oh yes, we're talking about Belcourt. Well, Belcourt, as I remember it in the ballroom, had a grouping of suits of armor. I don't know if any of them are still there. They were all in one section, and the one particularly interesting piece was that of a young soldier. He's in military uniform, and right away, my God, what a distressed soul that was. So that it became quite obvious to me right away what his problem was. Quite simply, he was a young man, the son of the house. By the house, I'm talking about a castle somewhere in the continent of Europe. This was a young man, the son of the house, who was some bright-eyed general of the house, said, there will be a battle within the next week or two when this army that is approaching us crosses the river. We will then take care of it, by that destroy it. should you like to watch this, we'd be happy to take you with us. And we'll put you in a good place for viewing. You might like to see what happens in one of these. Oh, absolutely, the young man said. So they hauled him off several miles out of where the fortress was to receive the oncoming army, and to everyone's great surprise, the oncoming army proceeded to destroy the in-house army that thought they were going to win the battle. In spades thought they were going to. With the result that this poor young man who had been lured there found himself being overrun by the opposition and killed right on the spot. Oh, God, is he mad. Totally betrayed, of course. Never should have been brought there. Awfully angry. And he still is. Then, of course, those two chairs, which are so badly haunted, which you wouldn't know unless you sat in them, if you were able to, because it's very difficult to sit in them. They don't want to be sat in. I mean, they literally push against you.
When you say that the soldier was distressed, how do you feel his distress? Is that how you know, or like how does it come through?
Oh, he's yelling at me, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I'm very much aware of his distress.
Interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, he'll tell anybody who will listen to him. Of course, very few people can pick up on that.
Do you try to console him? Can you communicate?
Oh, good fathers, I don't dream of doing anything like that. I just listen. And that's all.
Yeah.
I certainly do not want to interject my personality onto him. I don't want to be part of his world. I have a little bit of knowledge about that, because before that, many years before that, in visiting places, I have involved myself a little bit in communicating wordlessly with these entities that want to tell you about themselves. And you don't want to get so that they want to find you when you come in a room. And then they'll follow you home if you aren't careful. You don't want to pick up any of that stuff. Leave it where it is. So you asked me about...
Oh, the salt chairs.
In the old days, salt was tremendously valuable. And the only person who had it would have been the head of the castle, the chief title of the nobility who owned the place. And he would keep it on his person, which means his chair was the salt chair. And why is it called that? Because under the seat, you lift up the seat, and
there's a chest underneath, yeah.
Right, and that's where you keep the salt. Under lock and key, it's so valuable, of course.
Huh.
So she's got two chairs, which had been salt chairs.
You have them today?
I have them in
Still
my
has
house,
them.
yes.
They are very haunted,
Cool.
which you wouldn't know unless you sat in them or tried to.
Have you ever tried to sit in them recently?
Oh, she can do anything she wants with her furniture.
Once in a while, I will do the technique before I sit in it to find out if there's any activity in it. But the house that I live in today is not as lively as Belcourt is for spirits. And my friend, my neighbor, I should say, came to the house, and she said to me, somebody's standing by that chair. She also is a very sensitive. And so she said, what is there about that chair that makes somebody want to tell me his story? And so I didn't explain too much, because I don't know how people are going to take that type of story or not. But I went over to it and I did the technique that she showed, that you take your hand and you lower it into the chair. And if you feel tingles in your hand or you feel like an electric shock, then you know that there's an entity there. If you sit in it, we had many encounters over the years, but the one that I remember so strongly was the day that a person on the tour put their hand into it and felt whatever it was, and a spark came out of it. It was like a ball of fire and went right across the room out through the stained glass, and it smelled like burning something. And Virginia said, "This is the end of the ghost tour." And she ran downstairs and went into the ladies' room and fell down on the floor in the ladies' room. And she told me when we tried to find out if she was okay, what did you say?
I have no idea.
No, you probably don't remember it
I don't
because
remember it.
you were, you said, "I've been zapped." And it took a long time for us to let the whatever it was leave her. But I won't forget that experience, and having
Don't
to
remember.
apologize to the 40 guests that were there. "I'm sorry." And a couple of them said, "Is Miss Smith all right?" And I said, "Well, I don't know," but one of the assistants went down at first, and I finished the tour. You know?
Huh.
Being the tour guide, which you are fully aware of, David,
The show must go on.
the show
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
on.
zapped me, I remember that.
And so we finished the tour, and everyone on the tour was shocked.
Do you remember the
Some-
monk? The
Oh, yes.
The ghost of the monk?
See, I was indifferent to the monk. The monk was the famous ghost of Belcourt. I had no particular feelings about the monk whatsoever, did I?
No, that's correct.
Did nothing to me. I could stand this close to it and nothing.
Huh.
Wow.
Didn't say anything to me.
Huh. And it came from a statue, is that right? The monk emanated from a piece of...
The spirit in the statue of the monk, one of the things that we did not record was the exact time and date when we'd have the appearance of a man walking in the dark robe. That, what you said, was ghosts are events, not people. And the screaming armor, when I went into the ballroom one night, I heard the scream and it was terrifying. And I was alone. The scream was so bad that I didn't stop. I ran back into the apartment to get Donald, said somebody's over there screaming. When Donald came, he said, "Well, it's just the ghost." But she has communicated with that ghost. Again, it was always at the end of March and early April,
Yeah, that it was particularly bad.
when something was probably an event that cost his life. And when we acquired that suit of armor, or well, when Donald acquired that suit of armor before Donnie and I were married, he had repaired the helmet where it looked like a battle axe had gone through it. So, but he didn't want an imperfect suit of armor, so he fixed it.
I wanted to ask you about a lady in a pink dress.
That was Paula Finn that saw that. She was a tour guide, and she was horrified because she was on a regular tour and was in Mrs. Belmont's bedroom, and she saw a lady in a pink dress sitting in the sofa, and there was a rope there, so she assumed that somebody from the tour had gotten away, and she was a tour guide. You're not supposed to sit there. And then the person disappeared. Well, she called everybody, and she called me, and what she described was so clear. That's Ruth Tinney in the pink dress that she wore in 1992. It was exactly the day of the anniversary of her death.
Huh.
1 year later.
And that's the event that you're talking about. You know, like spirits come back at some event.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I would say that.
Oh.
At all. I would simply say that what causes a ghost is an event. Often that they are murdered or being frightened to death, anticipating being murdered. There is a rarity, I think, or maybe it's just because I don't see them, and that is the sweet, peaceful ghost that never did anything, that's standing at the end of a garden or something. That's very rare. There's no reason for it to be there. Again, it's usually an event that causes a spirit to stamp itself on the atmosphere.
Were you in a British ghost club?
Yes?
Tell me about that.
Well, it's a British Ghost Club, made up of people who are interested in ghosts and who often go traveling in a bunch to a so-called haunted place.
You said about like your backyard growing up that it was stamped, the atmosphere. It's not like that at Belcourt, right? Or
The only thing I remember, other than that, by that I'm referring to the ghost chairs and the suit of armor, which is still over there in pieces. On 2 occasions, saw a female figure in a long dress. It would have been someone around the turn of the century, I think, running out of that room into the ballroom.
Oh, wow.
Out of the door, and not very fast. I saw that twice. I have no explanation for it.
We went to Europe together right after my mother-in-law died in 1995. And we were in the Tower of London. She was having a ball. Donnie couldn't stay in some of those rooms. He was sensitive, but not vocal about it. And there was one room, he said, I can't go in there, I'm sorry. And it was where the people who were going to be beheaded, mostly females, had to stay before they were put on the block. And he screamed out of that room. She was fine with it. She was looking at the architecture, and it was beautiful. I don't have that kind of sensitivity, but I did feel creepy in there. However, but Donald couldn't go into the room because he was hearing all of the voices of the people about to be killed on the guillotine. In your tour, you used to say the Tower of London is the most haunted place on earth.
I think it is. Well, it's been lived in for over 1,000 years. For one thing, that'll accumulate a lot of people. So that, of course, there was a lot of atmosphere in it. It was where, if you're arrested, it was where you were put until they tried you or just beheaded you. And it's not that big.
Yeah, the courtyard is where the people actually died.
Where did you grow up?
On Long Island.
Did you marry?
No.
Did you grow up reading? I can see you clearly have a collection of books. Were you a big reader growing up, or is that something you grew into?
Oh, I've always been a good reader, but all those I bought.
Quite the
But
collection.
weren't
Well,
your
there's another
parents
room full of them
publishers?
there, out there.
May I look at them when I leave?
No,
What about some of the artwork? Is that all you've collected that as well?
oh yeah. Well, I inherited some. That's me at 12.
Yeah, actually, I've been looking at that painting and I see the resemblance.
That is a pastel.
Who did it? Who drew it?
Alice Music
Was
is her
that
name.
a family friend, or was it someone you commissioned, or?
Oh, it was a commission.
Yeah.
She was an artist. Well, pastel's art. Because you get them and they don't. And along comes a cleaning woman and goes like this
Yeah.
and destroy. So it had to be redone about twice. At which point I had a glass put over it, so people couldn't destroy it anymore.
That's crazy.
Well,
Well-
there are people who, for whatever reason, can't keep their mitts off art, and they shouldn't do it,
Yeah.
but they do it.
I sure do.
And when you're a tour guide, it drives you crazy because you can't imagine why anybody in their theoretical right mind would have to go up and touch what is an artwork. Do you have any feelings in any of the rooms that something's here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
you
more time.
first.
Go first.
In the room off of Alva's bedroom, the sunken bath.
Oh, you go
Stairs down.
downstairs. Oh, yeah, that's a mess. Yeah, that's not a happy place.
Huh.
Accessible from the other side, of course. Well, there are a couple of funny places that, if I would say there was any presence in the house, and there really isn't much. The boys' bathroom, for some reason,
Really?
has got something in it.
Thoughts?
Oh, but the boys' bathroom.
The old men's
Downstairs.
Yeah, underneath
bathroom.
the stairs.
was the entrance to the lion cage originally.
I'm sorry. There was a lion cage.
The what?
Where? Down in the basement?
Underneath, well, they've changed everything. Remember, we had the ladies' room off of the Grand Hall, and then the men's room was to the left of the staircase,
Yeah. Effectively under the stairs.
Yeah.
under the stairs. And there's a trap door there, or was, that led down to the lion cage.
Well, yeah, the trap door is still there. It's
Yeah.
behind the secret door. It goes down into the basement where
Yes.
there is a 4 by 6 foot area that has some bars or remnants of bars. That's a lion cage.
That was the lion cage because Oliver Belmont collected wild animals, and when he wanted to have his guests entertained, he would keep the lions down there, maybe one, and possibly, and then he'd bring them up to the courtyard to perform like circus acts while the guests sat up on the loggia and watched.
Wow.
Huh.
That's crazy.
Where did you hear that story? I've never seen that. I've never heard that before.
Well, I think, if I remember right, remember when I went there in 1960, there were still people alive that had visited Belcourt while Oliver Belmont was
Yeah.
alive.
Right.
They were mature.